Talk about a crusher. Yes! Oh!
Are you kidding me?
And gone!
Welcome back to the Schoolyard Sports Podcast. I'm the host of this podcast, Lane Frank. We're now in episode 179. Yes, sir, 179 episodes through, and I got an action-packed episode planned for you, full of interviews. It's on the red carpet at the Harold and Carroll Pump event, our third year doing it. We got so many great interviews coming up in this episode. We're also going to be talking U.S. Open, MLB playoff race coming down to the wire, NFL coming up in the preseason, and college football starts this week. We got a great episode of 179 planned for you. Stay tuned and watch all the interviews. They're all great. Let's start off episode 179, how we always do, with the headlines in the NBA. Really not too much news in the NBA. Only thing that happened in the NBA this week was the report that when the Rich Paul, LeBron James, Warriors deal was about to happen, so basically it was going to be LeBron heading over to the Golden State Warriors. It was a report. It wasn't actually going to happen. It was a big rumor that was going on at the trade deadline this year. There was a chance LeBron could team up with Stephen Curry in Golden State. That Rich Paul put the kibosh on it, ended that whole entire rumor and said, no, this isn't happening. LeBron isn't going to be a Golden State Warrior. Made the Lakers and the Warriors basically stop having relations or talks about that deal, even coming close to happening. It wasn't coming close to happening, but he just didn't want to even get started on that deal, even potentially happening, because that backlash could have for LeBron James playing with Stephen Curry, switching teams once again in his career, going over to the Golden State Warriors. Just wouldn't be a good look for LeBron in Rich Paul's eyes. It's really the only news in the NBA this week. In the NFL, we're rolling the preseason. We're rolling down to the 53 preseason cuts. You know, you got 53 men on your roster. Who's going to make it? Who's going to not? I think the biggest bubble cut this year might be Tommy DeVito, everybody's favorite quarterback from last year. No? Not everybody's favorite, maybe my favorite for about a few weeks, then fall off the wagon a little bit. But Tommy DeVito, can he make that 53-man roster for the New York Giants? We're just going to have to wait and see. And then for contracts, Brandon Ayuk's still up in the air, CeeDee Lamb's still up in the air. A new guy entering that holdout conversation, Ja'Marr Chase. See how all this affects these quarterbacks, affects fantasy for these teams, affects these teams in the long run. Are these guys going to play in the regular season, or is it all bluff? We're just going to have to wait and see with CeeDee Lamb, Ja'Marr Chase, and Brandon Ayuk. Are they actually going to hold out in the regular season, or are they bluffing us? Let's see what happens there in the NFL. In the MLB, we're coming up on the playoff race, everybody. I'm going to be out there in San Diego this weekend for Mets versus Padres, and that is a massive series. So if you're an MLB fan, your favorite team's not playing, watch Mets versus Padres. It's two great teams that are in the wild card race. It's going to be a great series. Maybe you'll see me on TV. Let's hope so. But Padres versus Mets, it's going to be a good series. Let's see how it works out. Playoff run. Interesting. Aaron Judge, 44 home runs, trying to catch up to Bobby Witt Jr. in the average race. Don't think it happens. Again, I still stand by my stance that they need to be co-MVPs because they're both having MVP caliber seasons. If you have an AL and MVP anyways, you're already going to have two MVPs. Let's just create a co-MVP in the AL for this year because I think it should be equal. Aaron Judge and Bobby Witt Jr. co-MVPs. Now for tennis, we have the U.S. Open. U.S. Open could be great this year. We got a lot of things leading up to the U.S. Open, even today with Yannick Sinner. His steroid test testing out positive for March, but not being suspended for it. We're going to talk about that and take the week. Also, Carlos Alcaraz, can he rebound from his Olympics final collapse? Novak Djokovic didn't play in the tournaments for the U.S. Open. Now I'm going to head into the U.S. Open. Let's see what he can do there. Can Ben Shelton repeat his semifinal appearance from last year? All this stuff coming up in the U.S. Open. You're just going to have to wait to see my U.S. Open prediction later on in the episode. That's part of the headlines this week. Now, Take of the Week. This week's Take of the Week goes on Yannick Sinner. So let's talk about this. Yannick Sinner is one of the greatest tennis players in the game right now. I think he's number one in the world. He's been on a tear. He won Indian Wells. He won the Australian Open. Did pretty well in the French Open, make the semifinals, and did pretty well at Wimbledon. Now we're looking at Yannick Sinner coming out today that he actually tested positive for a steroid, not once, but twice. Twice. Testing positive for a steroid, performance-enhancing drug. Now, you look at Yannick Sinner, you say, oh, this guy's pretty skinny. You know, he's a little bit tall, very skinny. Wasn't highly ranked coming out of high school or anything in Italy. Wasn't really that highly touted. Went pro for a year and had a really good year. Was he doping? I don't know. But you look at his stature, for the way he plays, with his stature, it didn't always make sense to me. Now, I'm not saying that Yannick Sinner is always a serial doper, that he is exactly a PED merchant, you could say. He's on steroids. Because he could say this isn't fully a steroid, that, maybe he accidentally took it. Say what you want, it's a steroid. He won't be suspended. had his Indian Wells points stripped from him, and had his Indian Wells money stripped from him. I think it was like $300,000. Okay, but he still won the Australian Open, which is a big deal. I think he probably was on the steroids even before then, or whatever it was. You could say, Lane, it's not steroids. Whatever he had in his system that made him test positive, I bet you he had it in his system at the Australian Open when he won that first career Grand Slam. Had a great French Open. Had a great Cincinnati Masters last week. Yannick Sinner is one of the greatest players in the game. It's a shame that this happened. Now everybody's saying, oh, what a legend. Sinner, beats all this, beats all his cases. He was probably pretty nervous about it. Now he's good. Now he's cleared. When Nick Kyrgios begs to differ. He says, why shouldn't this guy be suspended for 2 years? 2 positive drug tests, and you're not suspended for 2 years? A little bit interesting to me. Let me bring it back to 2019 when number 1 player in the world, Simona Halep, tested positive for doping. She hadn't played a match from 2019 until Miami Open in March this year because of that suspension. Yannick Sinner gets nothing. Okay, he's ready for tennis. Okay, he's awesome to watch. Cool. I don't care. I like watching Yannick Sinner play. But let's treat things equally. Is this real? Or was it just, like he says, from a massage? What's going on here? I don't believe that. I don't believe that just randomly got into his system. It's a steroid. No matter if it's accidentally in your system or not, it's still a steroid. Can't happen. In my opinion, Yannick Sinner should have been suspended. That's my take of the week. Now, I'm not a fan of a 2-year suspension. That's ridiculous. I want to see Yannick Sinner playing Grand Slams. This guy turned 23 last week. He's a great player. He's going to be a great player for years to come. I mean, think about it. Novak Djokovic is 38 with so many Grand Slams, still playing at a high level. That could be a guy like Yannick Sinner in 15 years playing that well. But this is a disgrace to happen right here. Very young, Yannick Sinner's career. There's always things coming out. Maybe Alcaraz is on steroids. Maybe Yannick Sinner's on steroids. Maybe, let's say, Djokovic is on steroids. No, those guys are built like Ironman, Djokovic, and Alcaraz. For Sinner, you could have said the same thing until today, in my opinion. It's a shame for tennis that this had to happen. Cool, maybe it's one of those MLB situations where it's like, oh, I had bad meat and then I got a positive steroid test. I don't think that's the case here. Like I said, whatever he said it was, massage oil, I don't believe that. I don't believe it accidentally got into the system. And if it did, a suspension still should have been warranted. Steroid or not steroid, a suspension should have been warranted. Accidental or intentional, same thing. That's my take of the week for this week on Yannick Sinner. Okay, Schoolyard Sports fans, I had a great time last Friday for a great cause at the Harold and Carol Pump Foundation dinner. Now, I've been going to this dinner for so many years, this event for so many years. In the past 3 years, I've been able to do the red carpet. We've had so many great interviews from Jerry Rice, Ray Lewis, John McEnroe, Michael Phelps. And even this year, we had so many great interviews. So I really want to thank Dave and Dana Pump for doing such a great event for charity. The Harold and Carol Pump event, please research it. Please do whatever you can with this foundation, with a great dinner, with a great event that it is. Enjoy these great interviews. All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here at the Pump event with Robert Griffin III. Thank you for doing this.
No problem at all.
All right, so I got to ask, how did the nickname RG3 start? Was that in college? Was that in high school? Or was it more an NFL thing?
It was a college thing. In high school, they used to call me RLG3 because my middle name is Lee. And then when I got to college, the announcer for the very first game I played in called me RG3 because it's my initials. So I'm just glad that my parents named me what they named me.
I mean, it is a pretty great nickname. So obviously, great big college football guy. I'm a big college football guy. Who's a quarterback you can watch college football today and say, that guy plays like me, that guy's the guy for this season?
Oh, wow. I mean, that changes every year, right?
It really
but
does.
Of course, right now it'd have to be Jalen Milroe from Alabama. Doubted a little bit as a passer. I was doubted a little bit as a passer when I first got into college, but by the time I was a redshirt junior and we won the Heisman, no one doubted me as a passer anymore. So I'm looking forward to seeing Jalen Milroe be able to take over college football with Kalen DeBoer as his head coach and that offense that they're going to run. It's going to be special.
Of course. And, a lot of NFL teams, they have injuries throughout the season. Quarterbacks have injuries. Is there any team this season you think that you could help out?
Oh, man. I mean, every one of them. Whether it's my experience as a starter or my experience in helping Lamar Jackson when I was there in Baltimore. So I don't pump my chest out to boast and say, hey, I can go start for all 32. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, these guys are phenomenal quarterbacks. But I know that I could help an NFL team if that call was to come. But in the meantime, I'm just going to enjoy my family and have fun, talking about the sports.
Of course. And last question I got for you, you're a sportscaster yourself and a player. What's some advice you have to a young sportscaster?
If I was talking to a young sportscaster, I would tell him to just be yourself. Always be yourself. Who you are genuinely, authentically in front of the camera should be who you are off the camera, and that makes it easier for you to do your job. so that when the lights come on, you don't have to change your voice or change your persona. It's very easy to be you, so always do that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Much love.
All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here with Hall of Famer, legendary Allen Iverson. Thank you for doing this.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Well, got one quick question for you. You know, NBA landscape, things changing a lot now. Do you think you could still play in today's NBA as a top guard?
No.
Thank you.
Allen Iverson's still here. The answer is going to heaven. I got to catch up with him.
Thank you. All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here at the Pump Dinner with Dominique Wilkens. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, it's a pleasure. You know, I've been knowing the Pump Brothers for a long time, and it's just a wonderful cause. You know, it's a family thing. So, you know, when you have something like this, man, you know, and people come out and support it, it's a really cool thing because it shows that everybody really cares.
For sure. This truly is a really great event. Glad to be back here for the third year doing it. So I got to ask you, your Atlanta Hawks went through a lot of changes this offseason, losing DeJounte Murray, getting number 1 pick, taking Zachary Fisher. What do you see as the vision for this franchise going forward?
You're always trying to improve on your team, and we're no different from anyone else. Yeah, we have a lot of moving parts this year, but we're still going to be a really good team. And, you know, the young guys that's coming aboard, you know, it takes time. They're young, and it takes time. And, you know, I love what we've done. So where we go from here.
Sure. You are the human highlight reel, so who's the guy in today's NBA that you think could also be a human highlight reel, a great player that you love to watch?
Oh, it's quite a few guys. You know, John Moran is one of those guys.
Sure.
You know, he a lot of highlights for this young man. So, you know, it's you know, a guy I really like too is Jaylen Brown. I really like him, the way he plays the game. So it's going to be a fun year to watch.
And last question I got for you. You had a lot of great battles with Michael Jordan throughout your career. What's one thing that sticks out from those battles?
Well, it's just the competition. It's the level of competition that's been lifted to a different height. And so when you play against him, you have to be ready to go. And so we have much respect for each other because of what we bring to the game and what we brought to the game back then. So it was just a pleasure to play against him.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You got it.
All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here with legendary NFL quarterback Warren Moon. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for being out here tonight supporting this event.
Of course, it's a great event. Great to be at. So you were obviously one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. You had a massive arm. Who's the guy in today's game that you'd love to watch?
Love to watch Patrick Mahomes, of course. You know, definitely Joe Burrow when he's healthy. He's always great. Lamar Jackson, I mean, 2-time MVP. There's so many good young quarterbacks in the league right now. I could name probably 10 of them, but those are 3 pretty good ones right there.
We see a lot of great receivers in today's NFL. Who's someone in today's game you would love to throw to?
That's a good question, too. You know, you got Tyreek Hill, has so much speed, but I love Jefferson because he has such a great catch radius. You know, he catches everything within his framework, and I like big receivers. So, you know, I like CeeDee Lamb. I love what he can do after the catch. So, yeah, again, there's a lot of good receivers too. The game has become a quarterback-receiver game. So there's so many good quarterbacks. There's so many good receivers in the game today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here at the Pump event with legendary NFL player Marshall Faulk. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So in your playing days, you weren't just MVP, Super Bowl winner, fantasy football legend, we could call it that. Would you ever care about that in your playing career? Think about fantasy, think about, oh, you know, maybe I need to do this much this week. Did you ever have that in the back of your mind? Do players ever have that in the back of their mind?
Nah, when you're playing the actual game, you're not thinking about the fantasy game.
Right. For sure. And who's one player today that you love to watch as a running back you think maybe resembles your game a little bit?
Without a doubt. I look at Christian McCaffrey. I see a lot of myself in him. Saquon Barkley. There's so many guys now that can, you know, play all 3 downs and really get it done, whatever and however the team needs them to.
Maybe even new Rams running back Blake Corum out of my Michigan guy.
Listen, Blake, what he did in college, if that can transfer to the NFL and he can do the same thing, then I'll be mentioning him when that question is asked just the same.
As a massive Michigan fan, watching every snap Blake Corum ever took, I think he can live up to that potential.
Hey, listen, you're a UM guy, and I'm just a fan of his because, you know, especially when little guys, running back is a position that it doesn't matter the size. you can get the job done. And listen, he got drafted for a reason. I'm looking forward to it. He's a Ram now.
That's great. And one last question I got for you. Do you have a dark horse to maybe make a Super Bowl run, playoff run this year?
Dark horse for what? Say the question again.
Maybe to make the Super Bowl, make the playoffs.
Make the Super Bowl or the playoffs. I mean, if I say the Rams, they're not a dark.
No, they're not dark horse.
I'm just gonna always root for the Rams. Hey, actually, the sneaky team that's making a lot of moves is the Falcons.
Falcons are making a lot of moves.
Making a lot of moves. Arthur Blank is all in.
Appreciate the interview. Thank you.
All right.
All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here at the Palm event with James Orthy. Thank you for doing this.
Pleasure.
So you are the voice of the Lakers, I like to say. So what can you expect this year from JJ Redick and the Lakers? A lot of changes, Brian James in the team now. What can you expect?
Well, I mean, I like J.J. Redick. You know, even though he's a Duke graduate, he's smart. And the one thing I like about him that I've seen is he's a really good communicator. And anytime you got, Coach K one phone call away, I think he's ready for the job. And I think he's been a witness and an observer of what's been going on in the NBA as a former player and analyst. So, yeah, I don't think he would have taken the job unless he was ready for it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here with UCLA coach DeShaun Foster. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, obviously, you guys, first year in the Big Ten, you first year as a head coach. What can we expect for UCLA?
Just expect a team that's going to come out there and fight hard. I'm just excited to get out there. Most of my players are pretty excited too. You know, we're in this new conference. We open up with Hawaii in 2 weeks on the 31st. So, once you see our brand of football, you're gonna want to check us out.
Sure. Last question I got for you: as a player or as a coach, what's the most hostile road environment you've ever had to walk into?
I'm gonna say Philly. You know, but I had a nice run, so I shut the crowd up. But, you know, just that was right the game before the Super Bowl. But it was Philly. Those fans were they're turned up.
And what about in college football?
College, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go to one this year because I go to LSU and Penn State. So one of those two probably after this. But so far we've handled them. We've handled the stadiums.
All right, go Bruins. Thank you.
That's right. Thanks, bro.
All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here at the Palm event with Carlos Boozer. Thank you for doing this interview.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Of course. So I'm a Duke guy. You're a Duke guy.
I love that.
What can we expect from the Blue Devils? Cooper Flagg, John Shire, another year.
They're going to be good, man. They're going to compete. I think this is John's third year at the helm. He's got a loaded cast of guys that can play, Cooper being one of them. Got a lot of good guys around him. Proctor's coming back for his junior year to kind of help lead that group with Jeremy Roach not being there. So, I mean, it's Final Four.
Of course. You obviously made your way through the league in the NBA, but you played with Ricky LeBron. How was that?
He was great. His vision was incredible. Yeah.
You could see it from then that he would be one of the greatest of all time.
I mean, I didn't know he was going to be one of the greatest of all time, but he was definitely going to be one of the best players that we had in the league as a rookie, which is very impressive.
So we could say, going into his rookie season, you thought he was living up to the hype?
No, beyond. I mean, the hype was retarded, but the rookie of the year, then you saw what he did with his career. Like, he surpassed the hype, obviously, with his 20 years and what he's been able to accomplish. Leading scorer, even though we all thought his best asset was his passing ability, he's a leading scorer in the NBA, which is incredible.
For sure. And last question I got for you. You don't have to answer this one. Who's your favorite team to play for in the NBA?
All of them, honestly. Being drafted by Cleveland was a blessing to get drafted. Going to Utah, learning from Karl Malone, those guys, and Jerry Sloan, and then playing with D. Rose in Chicago, and then ending my career with Kobe in LA. Just all of it was pretty awesome.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here with YouTuber Chris London. Is that how you want me to introduce you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so you were pretty much a massive content creator before even content creating was really known as a thing. So how did you get involved in that game?
I kind of use content to kill time. I dealt with some injuries in my sports career, and that was a great outlet for me to express myself off the court. And, then it turned into a business, and here I am today, just doing it full time.
Sure. Who do you think is the best person you've met through your time as a content creator?
Ooh, that's a great question. The best person I've met, well, through my content creation, I was able to say what's up to Kobe Bryant, which was really cool. Always going to remember that. And then I would say, I would just say the NBA players that I've connected with over time, just being a lifetime dream working with the NBA, being able to do that, the access that I get each and every year is just a blessing, and I'm super fortunate for that.
For sure. Last question I got for you. Do you have any tips for any young content creator out there?
Young content creators, I always say, stay consistent, have fun with it, just chase your passions and ride with that as long as you can, because I think that's how you strive and be the best that you can be, is just following your passion.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here at the Pump event with head coach of Washington basketball, Coach Sprinkle.
How you guys doing? It's always great to be here, man.
It's great to be out here. So you had a lot of great success in March Madness in your time at Utah State. How excited are you to be in a new conference in the Big Ten with Washington? Because it's not just new for you, it's new for Washington into the Big Ten. How excited are you to play in that?
No, it's awesome. I mean, I think it's the best conference in the United States. And, to compete against those teams night in and night out, I mean, it's going to be a grind, especially traveling west to east. But that's what we're built for.
I was talking to Coach Terry of Texas earlier tonight. I asked him how much of his job he has to deal with NIL. So what would that be for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the name of the game nowadays. And the college line, it's going to keep changing, and so everybody's got to keep up, but it's a huge part of it right now.
For sure. And what's one thing you want to tell everybody in college basketball to be ready for your Washington Huskies?
Hopefully we're just tough and gritty, and hopefully we keep finding ways to win and be a disciplined team.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks.
All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here with legendary college football head coach Jimbo Fisher. Thank you for doing this.
Awesome. Glad to be with y'all.
Great to be here at the Pump event. So I got a quick question for you right here. College football, obviously realignment, a lot of things are changing. When you were in the SEC, were you excited for the way the conference was going to look this season, or were you kind of skeptical of every realignment thing going on, expand playoff, all that?
You're always looking forward to it because, listen, it's inevitable. Change is inevitable, and you got to deal with it. But I wish we could get some more parity across the deal for each school to have the equal opportunity and equal amount of money to be successful. And because right now the SEC and the Big Ten got huge advantages.
Definitely. Is there any team you see this season that can maybe be a dark horse in this 12-team college football playoff, maybe a group of 5 team, another power team that usually doesn't get too much attention?
That's going to be the interesting question, because there's going to be 1 or 2 teams get in that people don't. They're going to be ranked 20 through 30 that are going to jump into this thing, and that's what I think is going to make college football more exciting, because at the end of the year now you got 12 teams trying to get in. How many games at the end of the year are really going to mean something? There's going to be 30 games those last 2 weekends that really mean something. So I'm as anxious as everybody else to see who those teams are.
Appreciate it. One last question. So let's give an insight to college ball fans on what you are up to right now, or maybe what the future is for you.
Well, right now, what I'm trying to do is relax. I'm learning to relax finally. I guess this month I wouldn't be out here. I guess I'm better off in figuring out who my quarterback's going to be. Last year, I'm always trying to figure out who my quarterback's going to be. But right now, just enjoy myself and time to take time with family, and then make a decision once November, December comes, if there's some opportunities come that you want to jump on, and most likely I will.
Appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here at the Pump event at Metta World Peace. Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
Of course. So you have one of the most memorable shots in basketball history in the finals when Kobe passed you the ball. Did you know right away and you had the ball, oh, this is going in?
It was more about the flow. It was just about the execution.
Right.
I think when you think you're too far ahead, it can get you in a little bit of trouble. So it was more about the execution. I knew I was going to execute.
You're one of the greatest defenders of all time. Some things people like to say about the NBA now is that defense is lacking. They need more people like you. Who's a player in today's league that maybe reminds you of yourself defensively? And do you think there's a defensive problem in the NBA?
I don't really watch the game enough. I watch college girls basketball.
Okay.
But, if I had to assess it or give my opinion, it's a different game.
Definitely.
It's a different game. And it's all about the actual individual. There are a lot of individuals like Wembanyama, who wants the DPOY.
Right.
He's asking for it. So I think they don't get enough. I think not enough of the real defenders get enough credit. But it's always been like that. It's always been 10% of the players that love to play defense. And it's the same right now.
Of course. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here at the Pump event with Shawne Merriman. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So you're a Chargers legend, and Chargers, they stole my Michigan football head coach, Jim Harbaugh. What can we expect, or what do you think we can expect from Jim Harbaugh in year 1 at the helm for the Chargers?
The expectation's high, man, not just because of him. I think that he walked into a really good situation, and they got a really good leader. That was something that they were missing the last couple of years, and I can tell you by being around the team, it's a different team this year. So I don't know exactly how many games they're going to win, but they're going to win a lot more games and compete for the AFC West division.
For sure. You sacked a lot of quarterbacks in your career, and then we got a lot of new quarterbacks in the NFL today. who is your favorite quarterback to sack, and who's one guy today that you would just love to get?
I always love getting Brady.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, you got to, it's because you don't get a chance to him that much. So when you do, you got to get him. If there was one that I wish I could get is Patrick. I'll look at Patrick, man. All the greats, man. And right now, he's the best in the game. So
for sure. Thank you.
You got it.
All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here at Tim Brown. Thank you for doing this interview.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
Of course. So if you play in today's NFL, how many yards per game do you think you could put up?
About 175 a game, something like that. I mean, that's being kind.
You could do better. You would do better. You would do better than that.
I was told we were averaging about 200 yards a game. That's what one of the coaches told me. I mean, they just
could be more.
They play a little different than we played back in the day.
What's one quarterback in today's game you would love to have played with?
Of course, Mahomes. I mean, who wouldn't want to play Mahomes? His ability to get the ball out in any situation would have been incredible.
One last question. Any dark horse contender for the playoff Super Bowl you have this year?
I don't know if they're a dark horse or not. I mean, I think everybody saw them last year, but this Houston Texans team is going to be the team to look out for, I believe.
For sure.
If they stay healthy, they're going to be tough.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're good.
All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here with legendary Hall of Fame NFL wide receiver Terrell Owens. Thank you for doing this.
Doing good. How are you, man?
I'm good. Do you think you could still play in the NFL? Do you think there's a team that you would love to play for right now?
It's not I think I know I could play, but you know how it is, politics, you know what I mean? It's not happening, but
Sure.
I could play.
Okay. And if you were in CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk's shoes, how would you handle their situations?
Just as they are. This is not a game that you can play forever, so you want to maximize the most money that you can. So they're no different than any other position that have, obviously either been paid prior to or ahead of time. But if you got to stand on your ground, stand on business to get paid, then that's what you got to do.
Thank you. Terrell Owens, everybody. All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here at the Pump event with Spencer Haywood. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for interviewing me right now, yeah.
We just wrapped up a great Olympics where Team USA won the gold once again. When you were a player, you won the Olympics. What was that experience like?
That was a great experience and probably one of the best experiences of my life because you serve in the country. And I must say, I did set the record that lasted for 44 years until Kevin Durant broke it. So, old school shit.
You're in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Do you think that was the greatest accomplishment any basketball player can ever achieve?
Yes, that one, because that's a compilation of all of your work, and there you are in the Hall of Fame, where a few players are there, and so it's just an honor. My life has been great. I'm 75 years old, man. I'm like just living large.
Last question I got for you. You played for the Supersonics in your career. Would you love to see an NBA team back in Seattle?
Well, it's basically back because we have changed the driveway to Lenny Wilkens Way, going into into climate control arena. We have fitted the lockers, so yeah.
Let's get it done.
All of my stuff is hanging in the ceiling that no team is on.
We gotta tell I'm Silver to get it done.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing
this. Basically done, and you might be one of the owners later on.
10 years later,
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant. Thank you for doing this.
Don't get scared.
All right, Schoolyard Sports fans, back here at the Pump Dinner with Texas basketball coach Rodney Terry. Coach Terry, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing? Good to see you here on the red carpet.
Great to see you. Great to see you again. Third year I've seen you at this event, so great to see you. Let's start things off. You're in a new conference this year. You're in the SEC. How excited are you to take on that challenge?
I think we're super excited about it. I think our fan base is really excited about the new challenge of the SEC, and we're joining a great basketball league, great conference.
College basketball and college sports obviously changing a lot. How much of your time do you think you should have to spend on NIL or maybe even transfer portal recruiting?
Well, we're fortunate enough to have a general manager, so we've kind of taken on the pro style, infrastructure that you have to have this day and time with the landscape changing the way it has, and we've got a really good guy that does a great job in managing that for us.
That's great. And what's one message you have for all of college basketball on what you guys can do this year?
Well, again, I think it's going to be another exciting year. I think, last year was exciting because I don't think we had one dominant team. I thought it was, pretty wide open. I think this year will be, quite the same in terms of, I think there are going to be a number of different teams that have a chance to compete for a national championship, and I think we'll have a chance to be one of those teams.
Appreciate it, Coach Terry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go. So those are all my interviews, Schoolyard Sports fans. Please comment which one is your favorite, which one, caught your eye. It was a great time doing all those interviews. And thank you to everybody, every athlete, every person who I interviewed on the red carpet that Friday night. And most of all, thank you to David and Dana Pump for putting on such a great event. Again, the Harold and Carol Pump Foundation, the Pump Event Dinner for Cancer Research. Thank you so much. Still more to come. It's Schoolyard Sports Lane Freak, episode 179. Now, this week's Did You Know is, did you know Georgia football head coach Kirby Smart has not lost a college football game to a coach or a team other than Alabama since the 2020 season. They lost on November 7th to Florida in that great rivalry game, Georgia versus Florida. So, Kirby Smart has not lost a college football game to a team other than Alabama, or Nick Saban, you could say it, since November 7th, 2020. Pretty ridiculous right there. And also, Kirby Smart has not lost to a current SEC football coach. It's kind of crazy to think about. Kirby Smart has not lost to an active SEC head coach. Didn't know that? Leave it down in the comments. That's about for Didn't Know this week. Now, it's time for my US Open Spotlight, everybody. I'm going to give you my winner. I'm going to give you maybe some surprise picks right here, and we're going to hop all into it. First, one surprise pick. One surprise pick could be these two guys from France. Arthur Felice could have a really, really good tournament. And also, Giovanni Pecci Pericard, 6'8", incredible backhand, fast serve. He could have a really good run. Made the round of 16 at Wimbledon. And Arthur Felice had a really good run at Wimbledon, also making the round of 16. Those two Frenchmen not playing doubles together, but could have a good run in singles. Watch out for them. Always, you have to watch out for Ben Shelton. Ben Shelton was really a rocket player. Had a great Cincinnati Open, almost beating Alexander Zverev to advance to semifinals. Francis Tiafoe made the first final of a Master 1000, I think, for the first time in his career last week in Cincinnati Open. Let's see if he can make a semifinal or a final again of the U.S. Open. We haven't seen an American man in the final of a Grand Slam in a very, very long time. Haven't seen an American man win a Grand Slam since 2004 when Andy Roddick won it at the U.S. Open. It'd be great for an American man to do it here at the U.S. Open. Can Tommy Paul do it? We'll have to wait and see. Tommy Paul, highest ranked American. Taylor Fritz, also a very, very good pick to have a good run at the U.S. Open. But I don't think any of those guys win it. I think the dark horses to win it can maybe be Holger Rune. Holger Rune made the semifinals of Cincinnati Open. He's a very good player. Has finally parted ways with Patrick Mortigallo. Really, really good player from Denmark. Let's see how Holger Rune, very young still, what he can do. Had a first round exit last year at the U.S. Open. This year, a little bit more humbled. Let's see what he can do. Alexander Zverev, always a force to be reckoned with on the hard court. Let's see what he can do. Yannick Sinner, even after I ranted on the intake of the week, he still has a chance to win this tournament. But I think the two main picks that will be the final, which is boring, I know, but it's going to be the final. Carlos Alcaraz versus Novak Djokovic. These are the two best players in the world. Whether you want to say it or you don't, these guys played in the final of Wimbledon. They played in the final of the Olympics. And they're going to play in the final of the U.S. Open, where I have, drumroll please, Carlos Alcaraz winning the U.S. Open for the second time in his career, getting it done. Already 5 Grand Slams by the age of 21. Absolute force to be reckoned with. I'll talk about Novak Djokovic having over 20 Grand Slams at age 38. Carlos Alcaraz has 5 by age 21, something nobody's ever done before. It's on 3 different surfaces: grass, clay, and hard court. Still hasn't won the Australian Open, but he's won everything else. Let's see if he can get his second U.S. Open title, winning it last in 2022, and he was just 19 years old. Pretty ridiculous stuff from the Spaniard. I've Carlos Alcaraz winning the whole entire U.S. Open, and that's about it for my U.S. Open Spotlight this week. Now, College Ball Showcase, everybody. As you can see, I am very happy to be doing College Ball Showcase again. My favorite segment. I'm going to be biased right here. It is my favorite segment to do on this show, College Ball Showcase. And it is my favorite sport to talk about because it's the best sport I can talk about. I can talk about all these sports: basketball, NBA, college basketball, MLB. I can go with you on anything. But when it comes to college football, I'm the best in the country, everybody. I'm the best in the world. When it comes to college football, you can't test me. Let's hop into it. Week 0, and we have one great game in Week 0. Florida State, Georgia Tech. One massive game, and it's this game in Ireland. We finally get to see DJU out there at quarterback for Florida State. Let's see what they can do. We get to see a Brent Key Georgia Tech team that is no slouch of a Georgia Tech team. I mean, Georgia Tech under Brent Key has been a completely different program than Jeff Collins at Georgia Tech. Remember, Georgia Tech is still in Georgia. They're still in Atlanta. They can still recruit very well. This is a team that lost by 1 possession to Georgia last year, a Georgia team that may have been the best in the country over my Michigan Wolverines, who actually ended up winning the national championship. I'm interested to see how Florida State does. DJ Angele, playing in Ireland, I think they squeak out a win. I'm going to go a very low scoring game. 17-10, go Noles, everybody, over Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. I think Georgia Tech still has a good year, though. Georgia Tech, watch out for them. And for Florida State, this will be a real test to see, can they go up against a good defense? Can DJ Uiagalelei play well? His first game as Florida State Seminole, and it's obviously in Ireland. Tricky for both teams. Let's see which fan base travels better. Leave your predictions in the comments. Which fan base will travel better? I'll say it's the Florida State Seminoles. They probably travel better to Ireland, but leave your answer in the comments. Some other news in college football. Alabama general manager Courtney Morgan came over from Washington, got a massive deal to stay at Alabama. And this is a new age college football. It's the general manager position for college football. These coaches don't really have to worry about NIL anymore. I was talking to Rodney Terry, head coach of Texas basketball. He's saying, I used to have to deal with NIL maybe when I was at UTEP, maybe my first few years at Texas. I don't have to worry about it the same more. I have a general manager that does it for me. Kalen DeBoer has Courtney Morgan, a manager who does it for him. Courtney Morgan was at the pump dinner, didn't get talking about this, but still, massive deal for Courtney Morgan. Glad to see that right there, staying at Alabama. Malik Murphy, one of the biggest transfer quarterbacks coming from Texas, led, or at least helped Texas in the time that Quinn Ewers was hurt last year, getting them to the college football playoff, getting them in there, getting them those wins, is going to be the starting quarterback at Duke this season. Let's see what Manny Diaz, Malik Murphy can do year one at Duke. Now, for Boise State and Malachi Nelson, I said this guy was the hidden gem of college football last week. I said that because he was the number one ranked player in the 2023 college football recruiting class over Arch Manning, over Dante Moore, over Nico Imaleva, over every other player in high school football in 2023. Then he transfers to Boise State, and he loses the job at Boise State. How does this happen? How does this happen? Is Malachi Nelson one of the biggest college football busts of all time? I think so. You don't transfer for a Group of 5 program from a Power 5 program after your freshman season as a 5-star to not even get the job. There's something going wrong with Malachi Nelson. I don't know if it's play style. I don't know if it's attitude. I don't know if it's anything. Character. Very uncommon to see this right here. We're the number one player in the country. It can happen where a 5-star, goes to a big school, doesn't play much their first year. Maybe they ride out 1 more year at their school. Then they transfer after their second year, go to a mid-major school, and they play at that mid-major school. For Malachi Nelson, transferred after 1 year at USC. Didn't even want to compete with Miller Moss, who actually won the starting job at USC today. Congratulations to him. Didn't even want to compete with him. Miller Moss is a 4-star quarterback coming out of high school. Malachi Nelson was number 1 in the country. Should have been that. Malachi Nelson was Lincoln Riley's guy for so many years. I was surprised to see he transferred. Thought he could have gone to Miami. Thought he could have gone somewhere really good like Florida State, even Michigan. Goes to Boise State. So I'm saying, they got something big planned for him there. Backup quarterback. Really doesn't make sense to me right here. Malachi Nelson, the backup quarterback at Boise State. I'm flabbergasted about this. Interesting stuff right there. And the last thing, College Football Showcase, as you saw in my interview with Jimbo Fisher, great guy I talked to at the Pump event, he says he might be returning in college football in 2025. Says, we'll talk about it in November, December, but that decision will probably be to be a head coach once again. Do you want your team to hire Jimbo Fisher? If you have a vacancy, or what team do you think should hire Jimbo Fisher in November and December when that coaching carousel comes around again? That's about for College Football Showcase this week. We got a big one planned for next week and week 1. Stay tuned. Now, at the buzzer. This week's at the buzzer. It's a great one. Now that Aaron Judge has 300 career home runs, hit his 300th career home run the other night, still a pretty young player, 30 years old. What's next for him in his career? Because he's the fastest player to ever reach 300 home runs. He's not the youngest player to ever reach 300 home runs. I don't see him breaking a massive home run record. I don't see him breaking Barry Bonds' home run record. I don't see him breaking the Yankees' home run record. I think he can get to 400, maybe even 500 in his career. But what's next for Aaron Judge? Is he going to go down as one of the greatest players of all time? I don't know. But getting 300 this early on in his career, it's great to see right here. Aaron Judge gets 300 home runs the other night. Great accomplishment. But what's next for him in his career? Leave your thoughts on that in the comments. That's about for At the Buzzer this week. Now, the best for last, question day. This week's question day is, what is the best conference in college football with all its new realignment? The easy answer might be the SEC. The Big Ten can put some competition up there. Maybe if you want to go with the Big 12, that conference can still show some very good competitiveness. ACC, let's look for some good teams to ACC this year. Maybe if you want to go crazy, say, the Mountain West, the Pac-2, the Independents. What is the best conference of college football this year? Leave your answer in the comments. That's about for question day this week. That's about for Schoolyard Sports Lamfrog, episode 179. Thank you for tuning in. Follow Schoolyard Sports on Instagram at Schoolyard Sports. Follow Schoolyard Sports on Twitter at Schoolyard Sport. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review for the best sports content in the world. We'll be back here next week, episode 180. Stay tuned.